My name is Barbara Marshall. I'm a prosecutor with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office and vice chair of the MAG Regional Domestic Violence Council. As a prosecutor, I've seen how much having a victim participate at trial can increase the chances of a successful conviction. Unfortunately, many victims do not testify against their abusers. This happens in far too many cases. But if we have enough evidence, we can proceed against the abuser. This makes careful, consistent adherence to the protocol even more critical. Most prosecutors have a no-drop policy. This means they can prosecute the abuser on the victim's behalf if they have enough evidence to proceed. If cases are not prosecuted, victims remain in danger. Costs to the system also increase as police respond again and again as the violence repeats. By successfully prosecuting abusers the first time, we can save costs to the system and prevent additional trauma to this and future victims. Ideally, we would prevent domestic violence from happening in the first place. But until that happens, successful arrests and prosecutions are one way to hold offenders accountable and protect victims.
With your help, we can bring justice to victims of domestic violence. Working together, we can hold abusers accountable and keep victims safe. We need to hear your stories about abusers being arrested and prosecuted, or when they should have been, but were not. Your experiences, whether personal or professional, will help us to determine what needs to continue, what needs to stop, and what needs to change. Your voice will help us deliver the message that domestic violence must end. Please contact us at MAG to share your perspective. One woman joins us today to share her personal story of triumph over domestic violence through a successful arrest and prosecution.
My name is Alexis, and I am a survivor of domestic violence. I want to talk to you today about my experience, where I found strength, and how I continue to have hope that through our justice system and domestic violence partners, all victims can become survivors with just a little bit of hope and determination. My journey of domestic violence started like most. I was in it and didn't realize it for a long time, but it ended in a way that I hope to help others prevent. Early on in our relationship, I knew that it wasn't what I wanted, but he had me right where he wanted me, without a job and dependent on him. However, after our first altercation, I left, but as these scenarios play out, I went back and found myself pregnant, which only led to more power and control. What I thought was love was his sickness, his obsession, and something he just could not let go of. My abuser on a good day, on a sober day, was crazy, obsessive, and mean, but he would never physically harm me. It was the bad days, the drinking and drugging days, that this person I knew loved disappeared and a monster reappeared. The first time he broke into my house, I had already filed a restraining order. I wished then that they would have given me a pamphlet on what domestic violence was and where I could turn for help. I knew he was coming. I called the police, but they were unable to do anything because they could not prove it was him. While the officers were still there, the harassing phone calls continued. I even put him on the phone with the police. But what we didn't know was that he was there watching the whole time. Within 10 minutes of leaving my apartment, I walked onto my second-story patio, and there he was. Luckily, the police were still in the parking lot and were able to apprehend him. He was sentenced to 4 months in jail and no contact with me. But of course, I too by this time was in the cycle of abuse. I allowed contact and actually let him convince me to call his probation officer and ask for the order of protection to be lifted, which I did. They denied. I thought for sure, for the love of our child, the help of the domestic violence team, and his anger management counseling, that he would change. That hope almost cost me my life. 1 year after my daughter was born, my abuser climbed through my kitchen window and stabbed me in the face while my daughter and I lie asleep. Once again, I knew he was coming. I begged the police to stay close, and I called his domestic violence probation officer and was on the phone with her most of the night. He had promised to kill me, and I was terrified. It took the police 15 of the longest minutes of my life to get to my house that night, after they had already been there just hours before. This allowed him to stab me twice, my brother once, and my friend 8 times. You see, domestic violence knows no boundaries. I could have been left for dead, him in prison, and my daughter without parents. There is no amount of love that can conquer an abuser's need for power and control. I was a single mom with 3 daughters and couldn't go home. My home had very literally become a crime scene and I a statistic. I realized very quickly that no one is really safe. Windows are simply made of glass, and if someone wants in, all it takes is a blast. Within 2 days, I went back to work, and within 2 weeks, I found a new home. I call this survival mode. A mother doing anything she can to protect her nest. Court began with my abuser being charged with 3 counts of attempted murder. He pled to 4 years. A victim is supposed to be informed of what is going on with the court proceedings, and somehow I had slipped through the cracks. I called the court just the day before the pre-sentencing and was able to get the plea thrown out of court and have a voice. And in the end, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison. I didn't even have time to feel the victory. As I walked out of the courtroom, I was served with custody papers, and he was fighting for joint custody and weekly visitations in prison with my daughter. My stomach sank. Just when I thought it was all over, it had only just begun. I reached out to Dana Shepard, my abuser's domestic violence probation officer. I had made it a habit unconsciously to call her every Friday for support because this was the night that I had been attacked. Dana reminded me that once again, I didn't have to do it alone, that there were resources available to me like chrysalis, counseling, legal and victims advocates, and when it all became too much to bear, I reached out. I got a call from Randy Keppen, who is my victims advocate. I mention him by name because of the amazing person he is and the support that he still offers me today. Randy was able to find me a pro bono attorney that was willing to take my case, Silvina Cotto. Silvina was able to take my custody case and turn it into a termination of parental rights. Ms. Cotto represented me and my daughter through 10 grueling court appearances. Randy, my victim's advocate, was there as a pillar of strength for each and every court appearance to remind me that my abuser had no control and he could no longer hurt me. With him and the ongoing therapy I received from Chrysalis, I was able to face my attacker, protect my daughter, and win the termination case. But as relentless as my abuser was, of course he filed for an appeal. One last jab. This too we won. With the support of all of our domestic violence partners, probation officers, courts, Chrysalis, and post-traumatic stress therapy, I realized that this violent act does not define who I am. Although at times I felt weak and broken, I was able to pick up the puzzle pieces of my life and build a foundation that never again will be broken. If you have the strength for one more day to live with domestic violence, think of the person you could be without it. It is a long road, not always an easy road, but a beautiful experience once you stop struggling as a victim and start living as a survivor. I am proof. The Lord placed in my life Dana, Randy, and Silvina, 3 people who not only do their jobs well, but do it with passion and love to help people like me fulfill dreams they never thought were possible. I now have a full-time job in education. I'm a part-time student, a single mother, an example of determination to all. I am hope to the hopeless that justice can be found. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexis, for sharing your story with us this morning. You are just amazing. You give all of us hope here today, and I'm so proud of the way that you persevered through the court system and through police departments and found justice. Your experience also encourages us to do the same for each of us today. I'm Patricia Clark. I'm President and CEO of Chrysalis. Alexis is just one of the 1,400 individuals that we serve annually. We provide emergency shelter, transitional housing, outpatient counseling, as well as community education, prevention, and prevention programs. Today, you stand in our brand-new facility, so please enjoy it. Even our clients haven't moved in yet. This is a very exciting time for us as we expand our ability to help more women and families in crisis. If you or someone you know finds themselves in an abusive situation and is needing to flee, they can call 602-944-4999. I work with other shelters and stakeholders throughout Maricopa Association of Governments, and a lot of you are here today, a lot of friendly voices and faces. Since 1999, the Council has offered a regional approach for this very serious issue. We have developed trainings, conducted studies, and improved the way the region responds to domestic violence. I personally invite you to become involved with the Domestic Violence Council and the Protocol Evaluation Team. We need your ideas, your talents, and time to put an end to domestic violence. With your assistance, we can keep living rooms as places to enjoy families and make fond memories instead of them becoming crime scenes, as you can see from behind me. On behalf of MAG, thank you to the St. Luke's Health Initiative, the Governor's Office, the STOP Grant, and for making today's press conference possible. Domestic Violence Awareness Month is right now, and if you need more information about the protocol evaluation, there are people around here who can talk to you about it. There is also information downstairs as far as resource tables. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call MAG, which is at 602-254-6300. Thank you so much, and please feel free there are people around here if you want to tour our facility. They're wearing black Chrysalis t-shirts. There's a lot of us around here who have spoken today if you just want to talk to us about the whole issue of domestic abuse. And I really appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day to come here. This is a critical time for domestic abuse, and October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Thank you so much.